ado, let me introduce to you Ms. Jackie Craven. Jackie writes poetry and prose steeped in magic realism. Her new collection, WHISH, won the Press 53 Poetry Award. Previous books include Secret Formulas and Techniques of the Masters from Brick Road Poetry Press, chapbooks from Headmistress Press and Omnidon, and illustrated books on interior design. Shorter works appear in Agni, Alaska Quarterly Review, the Cincinnati Review, Pleiades, Plowshares, and many other journals and anthologies. After completing a Doctor of Arts from the English department at University of Albany, she worked for many years as a journalist covering architecture, art, and travel. She lives in Schenectady, New York, Cocoa Beach, Florida, and on Zoom, where she hosts an open mic for writers. Jackie, welcome. I'm so happy you can be here with us today.
Well, thank you for that wonderful intro, and I'm feel great being here. It's wonderful. I will read a mix of poems from WHISH, and they are fanciful poems. They're poems that imagine hours of the day, minutes of the day, seconds of the day as human-like characters. Imagine if time could think. But although the poems are fanciful, they actually take place in a real place. They take place in Schenectady, which is where I am now. Schenectady is the home of General Electric. It's where Edison developed his light bulb. Kurt Vonnegut lived here for a while, working for GE, and he wrote some of his sci-fi stories here. So the poems are fanciful, but the place is real. Clocks can't be trusted in the Electric City. Imposters stand on every corner, round faces mounted on bronze poles and stone facades. One announces 7:59, another some other time, gonging, with such brass authority that 8 a.m. shivers and considers turning back. Between Erie Boulevard and Knott Terrace, 1,000 moments, each false as a department store Santa. Cars whish by, delivery trucks and the Crosstown Express. Groggy passengers gaze through frosted windows. The driver blinks at his watch, which claims to be 8:32. The bus blurs past the transit stop, the forgotten hour waits, smelling of coffee and lavender shampoo. Management has hired 3 new seconds, but they mangle every task. One flutters through ceiling vents, one twiddles with the computer fans, one calibrates the world's erratic rotation and jams the copy machine. Bookkeepers whisper about pulse frequency drift. The coffee curdles, management shrugs, adds a jiffy and a Zepto hour. I slump at my desk and pretend the day is round. So I alternate between prose blocks, square blocks of prose with poems that are more lineated in a more traditional fashion. And I toss in some sci-fi references. I'm a bit of a Trekkie. I love Star Trek. But if you're not a Trekkie and you don't watch Star Trek, that's okay. You don't have to, there's no need for you to worry about the sci-fi references because they're kind of universal. Federation agents ask whether I've ever been married. And I have, but only a little bit. So brief, it's easy to dismiss. Like when you drop a blueberry and quickly snatch it up. Such a silly slip up. Blink and you'd miss it. Yet there's my married name, a tumble of P's and W's, cascading from Deep Space Nine. It was the price of anchovies that messed us up. Karaoke and pickleball. The in-laws messed us up. Testosterone messed us up. Wormholes, casualty loops, and the war, everywhere garden pests and tesseracts. And why hold on to a floppy wedding veil? I gave the gown to a civic playhouse, thought I'd moved on, but now investigators from the Temporal Integrity Commission demand a name I almost forgot. And that dress, that ridiculous charmeuse dress, steps center stage, a walking shadow reciting Shakespeare. What's done cannot be undone. Oh my goodness, I'm wading barefoot in blueberries, so small, so indelible. A couple of years ago, I wrote a chapbook, just a very tiny little 21 poem chapbook that was published by Headmistress Press. The title was Cyborg Sister, and it told the story of a girl who was half human, half machine. And I wanted to use some of those poems in this full-length collection, but they didn't quite fit right. So I ended up rewriting the poems to make them work in the narrative arc of this story. But if you've read Cyborg Sister, you might think that some of these poems are just a little bit familiar. Alone in her room, the human clock chitters and hums. Walls vibrate with gnashing gears, each one sharp as a baby's tooth. Half girl, half machine, she eats shadows in bed. So much artistry went into her construction. Tweezers trembling and swaying light, the ceiling fan gasping, careful, careful, a laser beam weaving intricate intestinal springs. I want to crack the door and touch the edge of her secrets. All those wires coiled and cinched into durable knots. 3 a.m. hovers on a balcony, suspended between midnight and dawn. Feathered trees bow over the Mohawk River and repeat in silver water. The moon sinks into the slough dreams its sky, and a surprised-eyed bluegill swims overhead. 2,000 frogs turn the night green. 3 a.m. ripples, forgets to breathe. Behind a locked door, the s of Shalimar spritz from cut glass bottles, and at night, the hiss of soft skin shedding. For a moment, the human clock holds her shape, elbows bent and hands folded in the posture she wears at her desk in school. Then she rustles down. I imagine a perfect pointed toe stepping out, careful not to snag cellulose threads. What does the human clock become while she soaks herself in the bathroom sink? Can a girl exist without her skin? I find her folded over the shower curtain rod, arms dangling, the mask of her face upside down, dripping into the tub. The cover of this book was illustrated using a paint. I can't show it, but it shows a painting that my sister did some time ago. She was a trompe-l'oeil artist, which means her painting was very, very realistic. But she took these realistic images and combine them in ways that are very abstract. So when you look at the image, you have to look at it for a while to even figure out what's going on. And it's so busy. I hadn't considered it as a book cover. I felt it was just too complicated. And I didn't think about the painting as I was writing the book. But after it was all finished and after the Press 53 accepted the manuscript, I looked again at the painting and I thought, my goodness, this painting, it has a stopwatch, it has a wistful face, it has some broken eggs. A lot of the images I had used in the poem are actually in the painting. So my editor said, go for it. We'll put that painting on the cover. And I'm so glad we did, because my sister died a couple years ago, and having her work on the cover of my book is a way to honor her incredible genius. Televisions glimmer in hospital waiting rooms. Even as a hound bays out on the moor, they speak of extraterrestrials who save on groceries every day. I'm free to fly the fragrant skies or sleep beneath murmurs that drift softly from Cardassia Prime. The voices are blue and absorb like magic. They say one replicator outperforms 1,000 microwaves. They promise to guard the hyperdrive. But where's my witness? In the criminal justice system, there's another dimension. Anthropods may exhibit changes in behavior, thinking, mood. On Starship Enterprise, they howl and howl. And I will read just a couple more poems. No, even though this is really fanciful poems, purely imaginative, I do sprinkle in some science facts. And I'm fascinated by quantum physics, which I don't understand in any way. No clue. But as best I could, I sprinkled them in and put a bibliography at the end of the book for anybody who chooses to look further into that. One science fact that intrigued me was conversations between Einstein and another physicist, Schrödinger. Schrödinger was a physicist who had this, it's a theory, it's not an experiment, but they called it a thought experiment. It's in their head, they imagined, what if you had a cat and you put that cat inside a box and you seal the box, nobody can see the cat. Schrödinger proposed that as long as nobody can observe the cat can be considered simultaneously alive and dead. Amazing stuff. Just for once, I want to witness the going away. I want to catch the moment, cup it in my hands, see it blink like an altar candle. But in this dream, the red line shrieks from the terminal hours before I arrive, or I reach Port Canaveral after the boatswain's final call. I'm alone on the pier, waving goodbye, waving come back, waving until my watch slides from my wrist and tumbles into the foaming wake. I'm so thirsty, thirsty the way my father must have been in his hospice bed. I dab his mouth with a moist sponge. I tell him, here I am. I'm right here. And so I am, except I turn to read the clock. I miss the instant he leaves. The Timex watch my mother gave me in high school tisks from the floor of the harbor. Can't you be quicker? Can't you be quicker? And I hear my husband tick. My sister lies on the kitchen floor. I pinch her nose, push air through her lips. Yet I don't see her wish out to her garden, midnight dark and flecked with fireflies. I can never move fast enough. I'm speeding the quantum highway, pushing 75, 80. Radio towers lose their grip. Songs flutter from rap to gospel. I wish along the quantum highway, move so quickly I can't stand still. I stand still. I can never move fast enough. I'm speeding on the quantum highway and I'm in a chapel with a small black box tightly clasped to hold the cremains that meow and scratch to escape. I'm whooshing over the quantum highway, and the dust that was my mother plumes into the stained glass light. Or maybe it's my father or my sister, my husband, and so many friends. I carry them in my lungs, under my fingernails, and on the soles of my shoes, track them up carpeted stairs to a room still painted the green shade of blue I loved as a child. I throw back the sheets only to find myself already there. I'm speeding the quantum highway and I sit beside the bed where I sleep, guarding the door, making sure I don't slip away. Thank you everyone for being here. And I'm going to put in the chat room some links if anybody's interested in ordering Wish, or if you already own a copy and you want a free book plate with my name scrawled on it, just send me an email. And I look forward to any questions that folks might have.
Oh, wonderful. Jackie, these are beautiful, beautiful. Where did you come up with the title? Is it the title of one of the poems? I ordered my book, but it didn't get here in time.
The very last part I read had run in plowshares under the title Wish.
Oh,
And, but when I put that poem into the book, I expanded it, I made it longer. It's really appears as the last two poems of the book. And so I liked that title. So I thought I'd make it the title of the whole book, but then it no longer became the title of the poem because for one thing, I'd broken it into two poems, and for another, this book has a convention of using the first line as the title, and I chose to
okay.
do that to give it a speed of sort of a momentum.
Mhm.
The instead of having traditional titles, which can be like a label that kind of stop you, I wanted it to rush forward.
Interesting. Interesting. Yeah, an email to reach you at would be beautiful. I've got, I put the link to your sister's to the cover, which is just gorgeous. And oh, good. A link to buy the book right from you, even better. Bookshop, Amazon, Barnes and Noble, lovely, lovely. Someone had a question about the rewriting of some of your poems from one book to another. Did you look at them and say, oh, I want you to be in with this collection, but you're just not quite there yet, and then go from there? Or what was your process on that?
Yeah, I like the chapbook Cyborg Sister. I like it a lot, and they work in that because Cyborg Sister really reads like a little short story.
Ah,
It's its own thing, and when I wanted to take parts of it and put it into this book, um, I had to change them. It wasn't a matter of making the poems better. It was more about making the poems different so that they fit this story. In Cyborg Sister, it was a girl who really was like a robot kind of thing. But in this book, she actually becomes a clock. And so her story is more tied into questions about time, how time passes, how we get trapped in time, how time gets away from us, and that kind of thing. So I borrow a lot of the language from Cyborg Sister, but it's really in a different context.
fascinating. I love that you brought up quantum physics too, and Schrodinger's cat. I mean, I referenced it in a poem once at my writing group, and somebody said, "What cat? What are you talking about?" And and I told them, and they were just like, crazy scientists,
Yeah. Yeah.
But I too am a huge sci-fi fan. I've just been rereading Harlan Ellison and,
Mm.
just so many ideas coming up and going crazy. Um, what folks, we do have some room if you'd like to sign up for open mic, direct message Katharina and she can get you on the list. Um, was it your mother's paintings that you organized your previous book around?
Yeah, my previous book, Secret Formulas and Techniques of the Master, so it was really about my mother, who like my sister was a painter.
Mm.
Um, and Secret Formulas and Techniques of the Masters, which I used as the title of my book, was also the title of a book that was famous in the art world in the 1940s, by a man named Jacques Meriget. And he claimed to have developed a formula, um, that would help painters achieve astonishing realism. It was like a gel-like medium that they stir into the paint and it helped the paint glide. So my mother had read that book as when I was a child, and she was trying to paint in that style, and she didn't stay with it. She got more expressionistic and abstract in her painting. But my sister stayed with that approach, that ultra realism. But anyway, Secret Formulas has a lot of ekphrastic poems about my mother's paintings.
Oh, lovely. Okay. Yeah, your sister's painting is just extraordinary. It reminds me of a surrealist painter that I love, Remedios Varo.
Mm.
And it's just quite extraordinary. I'm so lucky that you got the publisher to use it, you know.
Yeah, actually, I didn't want to use it because I thought it was too busy. And he was saying no, because I showed him several pictures. I showed him some of my mother's pictures too, which are more not so busy, not so
Uh-huh.
intricate. And he said, no, you got to go with this. And he was right. I mean, I'm very happy.
Wonderful, wonderful. Nancer is telling us that there's also a great book about Einstein's thought experiments and things in Alan Lightman's book, Einstein's Dreams.
God, that is my favorite book of all time.
Ah, great,
Yeah.
great.
Oh, I'll never forget the day I read that book. I had a long flight and I was in the airport and I bought it at an airport store and I read it on the plane. It literally blew me away and I haven't stopped thinking about it since. And I'm sure it must have inspired me as I was writing these poems.
Oh, wonderful. Oh, so wonderful. This is so exciting. Um, if you have any more questions for Jackie, now's the time to put them in the chat. And I'm going to once again plug our amazing summer conference in Bristol, Rhode Island. And if I forgot to mention before, former poet laureate Tracy K. Smith is going to be a speaker on Saturday night. So that's going to be amazing. But the conference is always amazing, as is IWWG. So I hope that you can join us, especially for the May 19th open mic with Susie Banks Baum about motherhood. That's going to be really amazing. And I hope you can all join us there. And feel free to read some of the stuff in the chat, Jackie, that you've got going, and buy her book. Yes, everyone, please. It's great to support other women. That's what we do here. So from IWWG, I thank you so much for being here, Jackie. It was such an honor.
Well, thank you, and I'm really looking forward to hearing the open mic readers.
Oh,
If
great.
you folks aren't signed up yet, I hope you will. Sounds like there'll be a few openings.
Wonderful. Thanks again, everyone.